After a night of drinking porter in the pubs of Limerick, he staggers down the lane singing his favorite song. Who threw the overalls in Mrs. Murphy's chowder? Nobody spoke, so he said it all the louder. It's a dirty Irish trick, and I can lick the Mick who threw the overalls in Murphy's chowder. He's in great form altogether, and he thinks he'll play a while with little Patrick, 1 year old. Lovely little fella, loves his daddy, laughs when daddy throws him up in the air. Upsy-daisy, little Patty, upsy-daisy, up in the air in the dark, so dark, oh, Jesus! You miss the child on the way down, and poor little Patrick lands on his head, gurgles a bit, whimpers, goes quiet. Grandma heaves herself from the bed, heavy with the child in her belly, my mother. She's barely able to lift little Patrick from the floor. She moans a long moan over the child and turns on Grandpa. Get out of it, out! If you stay here a minute longer, I'll take the hatchet to you, you drunken lunatic. By Jesus, I'll swing at the end of a rope for you. Get out. Grandpa stands his ground like a man. I have a right, he says, to stay in me own house. She runs at him, and he melts before this whirling dervish with a damaged child in her arms, and a healthy one stirring inside. He stumbles from the house, up the lane, and doesn't stop till he reaches Melbourne, in Australia. Little Pat, my uncle, was never the same after. He grew up soft in the head, with a left leg that went one way, his body the other. He never learned to read or write, but God blessed him in another way. When he started to sell newspapers at the age of 8, he could count money better than the Chancellor of the Exchequer himself. No one knew why he was called Abe Sheehan, the abbot, but all Limerick loved him. My mother's troubles began the night she was born. There's my grandmother in the bed, heaving and gasping with the labor pains, praying to St. Gerard Mahia, patron saint of expectant mothers. There is Nurse O'Halloran, the midwife, all dressed up in her finery. It's New Year's Eve, and Mrs. O'Halloran is anxious for this child to be born, so that she can rush off to the parties and celebrations. She tells my grandmother, will you push, will you, push? Jesus, Mary, and Holy Joseph, if you don't hurry with this child, it won't be born till the new year. And what good is that to me, with me new dress? Never mind St. Gerard Mahia. What can a man do for a woman at a time like this, even if he is a saint? St. Gerard Mahia, my arse. My grandmother switches her prayers to St. Anne, patron saint of difficult labor, but the child won't come. Nurse O'Halloran tells my grandmother, pray to St. Jude, patron saint of desperate cases. St. Jude, patron of desperate cases, help me. I'm desperate. She grunts and pushes, and the infant's head appears, only the head, my mother, and it's the stroke of midnight, the new year. Limerick City erupts with whistles, horns, sirens, brass bands, people calling and singing Happy New Year. Should old acquaintance be forgot, and church bells all over ring out the Angelus, and Nurse O'Halloran weeps for the waste of a dress. That child still in there, and me finery. Will you come out, child? Will you? Grandma gives a great push, and the child is in the world, a lovely girl with black curly hair and sad blue eyes. Ah, Lord above, says Nurse Halloran, this child is a time straddler, born with her head in the new year and her arse in the old. Or was it her head in the old year and her arse in the new? You'll have to write to the Pope, missus, to find out what year this child was born in, and I'll save this dress for next year. And the child was named for the Angelus, which rang the midnight hour, the new year, the minute of her coming, and because she was a little angel anyway.